Opa, welcome.
So are we gonna kill this love and hit you with that do?
Well, uh, I'm a love sick
Did I?
girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. How you like that, huh?
All right, Opa,
Yeah.
whatever you say,
All right.
Opa. All right. Um,
Okay.
we're here to talk about Blackpink. Light up the sky.
Yes.
This is our first ever talking about K-pop in any form in this channel. So this is new territory, but we are talking about the Netflix documentary Blackpink, Light Up the Sky.
Mm. Which
Um,
was really good. I
I
really quite
loved it.
enjoyed it.
I loved
Yeah,
it.
I did
I
too.
don't know.
I
I did not have high expectations of it because I'm like, I love Blackpink, but I'm like, it's a documentary that you can really easily phone that in. You know, you just
yeah,
be
you
like,
can you can flub documentaries for sure. Yeah.
and you can just do like a because like it's Blackpink, it'll sell itself. So you don't have to put that much effort into it. You know.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with what it
Hmm.
was actually. And like I came out with even greater appreciation for them. I feel like after watching it.
Yeah. So my friend Chris is the person who kind of got me into K-pop, and more or less, I want to say like a lot of my exposure to it is only pretty much due almost exclusively to him. And I really enjoy K-pop. Don't get me wrong. As you can see, I really enjoy uh, Blackpink
Blackpink.
and K-pop,
Blackpink in your area. See, I don't have as much
and
Blackpink. See, this is all I have Blackpink.
this is pretty new as well. This is Rosé's single.
Hmm.
So I really like K-pop a lot, and I like Blackpink and Red Velvet in particular. We're here to talk about Blackpink, and I gotta tell you, I don't really listen to it all that much,
Hmm.
despite the fact that I love it and I love collecting this stuff, and I love the girls, and I like the music a lot. I will listen to it and I love it. But it's like for whatever reason, it's not something I feel like I am kind of still a K-pop casual, K-pop casual.
Hmm.
And then I always really enjoy it, and whenever it's on, I'm always like jamming, and whenever I listen to it, I always love it. But it's never like the first thing I really go to. I feel like after watching this movie, I'm gonna listen to it a lot more. It just
Because they posed philosophical questions about what is K-pop,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like, wow, maybe I've
yeah.
been viewing this differently my whole life. It's
I
like
guess I don't know if they necessarily.
Jenny was the one who was like, or no, was it the producer Teddy? Oh yeah, it's yeah.
Teddy is the one that posed the question. What is
He was
K-pop?
like, he's like, well, it's just Korean pop. Why don't they have
Right.
that for every country?
Hmm.
So what is K-pop then? So that's always interesting to think about. I've thought about that before, where it's like K-pop's put in this own box, you know. It's like, and like the Western
K-pop and
audiences are like K-pop and J-pop, you know.
K-pop and J-pop are also very different from each other, which is really interesting. I think
Hmm. But
K-pop has almost like a it can tend to, it doesn't always, but it can tend to have a little bit more of an old timey sort of feel to it. A lot of times, K-pop feels extremely modern. Pretty much whatever you listen to, if you're listening to boy bands like BTS, or if you're listening to Blackpink, or if you're listening to any number of them. Those are just the first that popped into my head because obviously we're here talking about Blackpink. It is a lot more of a modern sound. I think Blackpink in particular, really doing that a lot of that hip hop fusion with pop and rap, and it just sounds awesome. Like it's hard to really like quantify, but
it's a
it's like
great
yeah,
sound. Like
yeah, and I'm not even really the biggest like hip hop fan, but there's something just really infectious and super listenable about it. Just extremely well produced.
mm,
And it definitely has an international feel to it, even more so than J-pop can often will use English in English phrases and stuff, but it feels a lot more ingrained into K-pop's identity to use like to blend English and Korean together and like seamlessly. Um, and that's something that I've always really enjoyed about it. And it just makes it sound really cool, you know?
mm,
But yeah, for whatever reason, it's still not like. But like I said, definitely going to be something I listen to a lot more, I think, after this documentary. And I really liked how it kind of started. It started really simple, and then just sort of delved into kind of each of the each of the girls' personalities and sort of like the backgrounds, and framed it kind of talking in a way that's like we're working on the album, but then framed it with their going through the personalities and then going through like their history and the tour that they went on, the big world tour they did, and it was really great, and it really like ups and downs. It really brought you on quite a journey for sure.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say I'm also more or less a K-pop casual. I would say too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do really love it, and I was introduced through to K-pop through just a couple of friends that suggested it, and then I started watching it on my channel, my solo channel,
Mm.
back in like 2016. I did my reaction to Girls' Generation.
Yeah,
That's Taeyeon right here from Girls' Generation.
yeah.
So Taeyeon was always like my number one, my favorite. But I've always was like I would record every K-pop thing I watched. It was all recorded reactions of it. I never watched it or new stuff outside of that. So for a few years, I was kind of restricted to that. So I didn't just like a lot of K-pop fans. Once they get into it, they'll just splurge through tons of stuff, and I didn't do that as much. But now I'm kind of able to do that because they don't really do reactions. So I'm getting more into it, and I still want to get into other groups like Red Velvet. I haven't listened to at all.
Mm. I like them quite a lot. So
Yeah, but Blackpink I feel like is my favorite now. I think there's a reason that like they came in and they blew up so quickly. They're such a
yeah, it was crazy.
sensation. They were like,
Crazy how fast.
and they talked about in here it was like the quickest video to reach a certain amount of views in 24 hours, and like they reached 1 billion views on some of their videos. It's crazy.
Mm.
They blew up like overnight. They had like 2 videos out and they're huge. And yeah, this was really interesting. And I really like Teddy Park in this too, the producer. I
Yeah.
think he's cool. And he's responsible for a lot because Blackpink is known for like such a unique sound. The production of Blackpink is so strong. The beat and the instrumental and everything, that's how the sounds are blended. It's so much stronger than a lot of K-pop groups, that stands out with a unique identity. And I think they emphasize the individuality of each member, which was obviously the important thing as well, because I feel like you have 4 members who are pretty solid all around, whereas you have like some K-pop groups where you have a bunch of members and you kind of don't know some of them as much. You don't care about a couple of them, but they all are like have their strong roles and stuff. So I think they did a good job of showing why they're so successful.
Yeah, they're all very distinct from each other too. Like just in terms of their personality, they're all very different people.
Yeah.
That I thought that and sort of talking about that the international sound, the fact that they're all from different places. Like they have all Korean blood, but like Lisa is Thai. Rosé grew up in Australia. Was it Jenny was born in Korea, but then they moved to New Zealand? I think it was.
Yes.
And then Jisoo is just Korean.
Yeah.
So like having that kind of like blend of different cultures is really also very beneficial, I think, to and I think explains their appeal, and that's kind of what Teddy was basically saying. I think that's sort of, I think he's totally right. I think that's why they work so well together.
Yeah.
And work so well as in an international audience. I mean, I knew it was big when they were at Coachella, but I guess I didn't realize until seeing this just how big a deal that really was.
Yeah.
And seeing so many people there to see them, like that was just awesome. So
yeah, and I would say I only really listened to their music and then like a couple live performances. I never really got into interviews or anything like that, so I really didn't know anything about them personally. So that was really interesting. And I had no idea that that Rosé was like grew up in Australia and all that too. So I didn't even know what her speaking voice was because I'd never heard her outside of singing.
I knew a lot of them could speak English, and I knew that Rosé could speak it the best because I knew that she grew up I didn't remember if it was New Zealand or Australia. And you hear it and you're like, okay, it's Australia. You immediately know. Um, but yeah, I guess I didn't realize that like where they were all from exactly. So yeah, that was really helpful to sort of contextualize that. Yeah.
But it's great they framed it really well. I really love how they framed it,
Yeah.
where they started it from Teddy's perspective, like talking about each of them and what makes them
Mm-hmm.
unique and the qualities about them, and then it kind of goes through to their perspective, and they talk about each other a little bit, and then
Yeah.
they talk about themselves. You kind of go through each one. So I always like that when you emphasize the individuals in a group like this, because
For sure. Yeah.
they do each have like things that make them shine. Rosé is my favorite, so
Oh yeah, she's my favorite.
she's the best.
She's been my favorite. Yeah. I thought you were a Lisa stan though.
Look, I was I did wasn't like any specific member honestly for a while,
Okay.
but Rosé recently I'm like, yeah, she's the best.
Yeah, she's my favorite.
But I mean, I love them all though, because and they
Yeah, I
all
mean,
have like
same.
moments and a lot of the songs where I'm like, oh, that's awesome, and that's what's so good about a lot of their songs. They make sure to have like individual moments for each of them to shine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and all their different like skill sets as well. I mean, they all have to know how to dance and such. But like some of them are like their thing was dancing, and then like their thing was rapping, and her thing was just singing. So seeing that they talked about like how having to develop those skills through a long process of. So they do kind of go a little bit into what it's like to essentially be a K-pop idol is extremely rigorous to the point of they didn't quite go as far as they probably could have, but I don't think the documentary would have been like going in a different direction had they gone like towards like an idea of like, is this a good thing?
Yeah, yeah.
It did kind of pose that as a question though, I think.
Well, yeah. At least they talked about the bad of
Yeah,
like they missed out on all these years and it
yeah,
was so hard. But I think the point ultimately is that like showing their journey to where they ended up, and to where like on the outside, especially you don't know anything about how
yeah,
K-pop works, you could just be like, oh wow, Blackpink, they got really lucky. Like they just kind of fell into this like viral sensation. It's like, man, wish I was them. They lucked out. But then you look, oh,
no,
they've been working for
it was
years.
it was a very it's a very I think some people would probably think of it as a bad thing, that it's sort of a manufactured thing by the company.
Yeah,
What's the entertainment?
YG.
YG. And probably to some of it is like there are some aspects of it that, yeah, I at least in terms of my perspective, it kind of is like, I don't know if that's necessarily right or correct or anything, but that is literally what it exists to do, is to create and produce like successful entertainment. And I mean, they this is like the culmination of everything that they've done as a company. And obviously I can't speak for everything as a company that they've done in their entire history, because K-pop has been a thing for a long time. But this this is definitely, I would say, a huge success story. And the work that they've had to put into it, I mean, obviously has paid off in spades. I mean, they're extremely well known. They're appearing on Western talk shows, like performing on like late night shows and morning shows. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and they're one of the few to do it. It's like
Yeah,
you can name on your hand like how many. There's BTS and Blackpink are the two that really I can think of that have
yeah,
had such widespread appeal.
yeah.
That like have come over to Western audiences and performed
Mm-hmm.
in these big events and gotten such recognition.
Mm.
Still, maybe not the recognition they deserve. Like people talk about it a lot, where it's like K-pop and things like that. It's always kind of pushed to the side, like even in award shows and things like that. You don't really get the recognition, kind of
Yeah.
like with like anime and things like that. In terms
Mm.
of animation, it's similar.
What's the thing where it's like it's kind of, I mean, right? They sort of highlighted Gangnam Style. I think that was oh crap, what's kind of the word? It's like that was like a broke the mold. I'm trying to think of like a better sort of phrase of that. It was sort of a
Groundbreaking or
yeah, groundbreaking, but like a something point. It's like a man, I can't quite remember the phrase.
mm,
But it did well. It broke the mold for
breaking
sure.
barriers. Yeah.
Broken barriers. I mean, it really introduced people to just a completely different kind of music, a different sense of humor,
Mm-hmm.
a different like
But even with Gangnam
everything.
Style,
It,
it's interesting because it's like it's never taken seriously, really. You know.
but that's what I mean is that I think that that did a lot in terms of raising people's like awareness of K-pop as a thing. You know, Gangnam Style I think was the first video on YouTube to reach 1 billion views. But yeah, I don't think it's still kind of seen as like this sort of foreign or it's kind of an aside.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder if like a lot of it is just a misunderstanding of like, you know, maybe it's like, oh, there's not because it's all the studio propping these girls up and it's all production and blah blah blah, and it's like that's the way. I mean, in a way, that's kind of the way Western studios are too. There's a lot of like production, you know, influence and like the music is quote unquote manufactured. You know, it's like it's the same sort of thing. So it's like to me, if you levying that kind of criticism is just kind of useless and goes nowhere. I think it's good to see that kind of finally getting more recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And this international appeal, as we see throughout the documentary, is definitely like there. Though I did want to point out there were a lot of all the different people they interviewed, the English speakers they interviewed throughout their U.S. tour. I noticed all of them were girls. I was like, there's no schlubby white guys like me. You know, what the heck is up with that, huh? I'm a fan, you know, like they were just like, nah, we don't want to interview any of them.
Yeah.
We'll highlight the girls who were influenced by them, and it's like, well, okay. I guess maybe it's weird if an almost 30-year-old dude is like, yeah, even though through the shots in Coachella you could see, you know, that happening, but.
But it is interesting because even Jenny says in the end that like after the Coachella performance, she was like, people were like appreciating us not as just K-pop music, but as like a group that's actually doing new things. So
yeah,
and that's what she wanted.
Yeah.
So that's nice to see.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and Jenny was the one who said that what makes K-pop K-pop is the training. Like that's the thing that sets it apart.
For sure. I think a lot of times. I mean, I can't think of any. There's not really any analog in Western pop, really.
Yeah, nothing definitely near that level.
Yeah.
Where it's like a whole program they went through, and the way they talk about it, it's like a lot of the stuff is not the most pleasant environment. It's like they have these producers like or sitting in a room like judging them, watching them
every month they have to
and then grading them,
present something. Yeah, that's brutal. That's honestly that's brutal. like oof.
So does not seem like a fun time. And then
No.
they're talking about how like people just like be like dropping people left and right, like elimination style. It's like cutthroat until it was down to those four. But then it was cute how they had the backstory, how they were together through a lot of it.
Yeah.
And then ultimately how they all ended up doing the audition and it worked out.
Yeah, I like it. They sort of paired them a little bit together. So Jenny was influenced by Lisa, but it was also Lisa and Rosé like really hit it off as well. It makes it sound like, oh, Jisoo had nobody, but Jisoo is basically like the mom of the group, more or less. Like that's kind of the vibe. Strong vibe.
She doesn't cry.
She doesn't cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Teddy said it's like I've seen her cry like once. It's like all the other girls cry, but she's holds it together. It's a very like that's the very, and I think that was what he was saying. She's very like kind of the old school Korean, like born and raised. It's a very like holding what you think, holding what you're thinking and what you're feeling kind of close to your chest or like behind a veil, more or less, in order to kind of channel that into a performance, and it's like clearly it works because she's awesome, you know. So
Yeah, I just have so much more appreciation for each of them now. I feel like
oh, big
because
time, yeah,
they're so like down to earth and
yeah,
actually like great personalities and everything,
yeah.
which you wouldn't expect. Like this stuff, you blow up overnight. It's crazy, but
Yeah, and then them being like, "We're exhausted and it sucks," like that was like a legitimate thing of like, we're on tour and we're dying pretty much. Or it's
yeah, like
like,
it wasn't. They weren't sugarcoating anything. It was
yeah,
nice. It was like actually real documentary style, not just like, oh, look at us, we're a fun K-pop group, we're having fun out here.
yeah,
But it's like I forget who it was that was saying it. It was Rosé who was like she wants to have time to relax, but then when she's relaxing, she feels bad 'cause she's not working. You know, so it's like
yeah,
a dilemma.
yeah,
Like you always want to be working, but then you never have time for yourself. She's
right,
like in the at the
exactly.
middle of the night, just trying to make time to do actual music. But
Yeah, it was her. So I think the reason that I found so much appreciation to her, for her in particular, and this is no slight on the other three at all, but I've come to realize that over time, there's literally nothing more attractive to me in somebody than a passion for music. And she has like that singer songwriter. She's just like basically doesn't. I mean, she has to sleep, but she basically doesn't sleep. She's up in the middle of
yeah,
the night writing and just performing and playing. And I loved like they would intercut with stuff with like early moments with her and Teddy being like, just being like, no, you just gotta like, you just like vibe to this. Like she was playing something on the piano and it was like, okay, well let's loop that. Like let's see what that is. You'll learn to be more vulnerable the more you do it. But it's like, and she, kind of uncomfortable, but she was starting to get into it, and it's like stuff like that is just really, it really speaks to me, to a personality, and it's just something
yeah.
I find very endearing, and yeah, I thought that was great. All those moments with her with just playing music was just like
It's
it's good
always
stuff.
nice. Always nice to see when someone's actually passionate about it, and it's not
Mm,
like, oh, you're
yeah,
just doing it because now you're kind of expected to. You're just kind
yeah,
of going through the motions. But it's
yeah,
like no, actually passionate about the music. So
yeah, for sure.
it's cool to hear that. And Lisa was great. Like you can tell she's just always positive and like
Yeah,
just always having a fun time.
her fashion is awesome.
Yeah, the
Her fashion
vintage.
sense is just awesome. She's just like she can, and I like how someone's like, oh, she can just wear whatever. I think it was
She can
Jenny.
pull it
She
off.
just
Yeah.
she could just pull anything off. She just put on whatever, and it works. And it's pretty much true.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. She just has like the most infectious smile too. It's just like
Yeah.
you can't help but you kind of like they were saying you can't really help but smile when she's trying to cheer you up. So
Yeah, I've noticed that even in the Blackpink music videos, like they have such a strong style to
mm,
them too. Like, and even in their set design, it's so
yeah, that's
strong.
definitely a thing. To me, I think that's a thing across K-pop that I find really awesome. Is like the music videos and stuff. It's like yeah, some Western music videos have a lot of really cool production and things like that, but there's something about it that's
There's
just
personality to them.
the personality, the cinematography, the the makeup, the costuming, the lighting. There's just so much that's like perfect every single time. Now, even if it's a song that I don't like as much as another song, it's always like a 10 out of 10, no matter what they're doing. And it's like I don't see that in basically any other pop music video. So
Yeah, I'm telling you,
yeah,
Teddy is great. Like, their production is off the charts.
yeah.
Like, even compared to other K-pop
I,
groups,
I,
you know.
I think what sort of sets him apart too is that he has experience. In the '90s he was like in '90s to 2000 early 2000s he was in a group, and I almost wonder if like that a lot of that is helpful for him in terms of him like relating to and coming to terms with speaking to the girls and everything, and like just that the mindset that he can understand. But I mean, he's phenomenal producer. I mean, the beats he writes, the music that they write, absolutely awesome. So
And he was a great
yeah,
voice to have. Like I thought he was
yeah,
great.
yeah, very beneficial. Yeah, I feel like that it would have been lacking without that kind of without the sort of almost the mentor sort of voice, in there, which is really great.
Yeah,
I
because
really
it's like an
like that.
outside. It's fun seeing them talk about each other, but it's also nice to have an
Mm,
outside perspective, like talking about each of them and what they do well.
yeah,
And like he's kind of a missing piece of the puzzle that you don't know about. It's important to have that filled in with a documentary like this.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, ultimately, I thought it was really emotional in the end too.
Oh
I was
yeah,
emotional going into it, so I was just like a sucker. I was crying there at the end. I'm like,
yeah.
Rose's crying.
I was tearing up, man. Yeah, I know. I was tearing up when they were all
I'm like, what
crying.
am I
Yeah,
doing here?
yeah. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. They don't show the schlubby white guy that's like, yo, I love K-pop.
Rose,
Rose.
Rose
They
cries,
don't
I
show any of
cry.
that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, kind of.
I really love this documentary. I was surprised. I was
Yeah.
expecting to be like, oh well, I love Blackpink, but this documentary was,
I to me, this is a perfect introduction to them. I would say for like if
and the K-pop
I
in general. Like, if you were gonna tell
yeah.
someone about K-pop, maybe
Like I feel like I feel like I want to show my parents this to be like because they know I like K-pop. Um, but I
Hmm.
want to just be like, hey, you should watch this. It's really good, and it'll kind of explain a lot of the stuff about the industry. You'll learn things about them as a group, and
And
can understand why they're just like why the music is so good.
it shows
And
like there's more depth to it than like on the
yeah,
outside. It's so hard to get on board with
yeah,
K-pop because it's like,
it's beyond a manufactured product. It is, but it's beyond that. It's there's a lot more. These are people
yeah.
with their distinct personalities, with their talents, and they're extremely hard workers, and it has paid off in spades, and will continue to as long as they are still making music.
Yeah, and then when they
So
come back in their 40s for their
yeah,
comeback tour.
I love that. I also love that at the diner where the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." They were like, "Oh yeah, did you come here when we were training?" He was like, "Yeah, I didn't give you very good service though."
It was so nice. I was surprised they were able to capture such like authentic moments too. That
Yeah,
can be hard to do, especially when it's like people that aren't used to being like recorded
yeah,
behind the scenes, filmed behind the
yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, it was nice because especially with like Jenny was saying she really doesn't like talking about herself or her past very much. She's just very private,
Yeah,
and it's like still getting that raw vulnerability was just like really nice. Um, Same thing with everything with Jisoo with everything that she sort of explained or talked about is just like you just get a sense of like she too is private, but like you get just such nice genuine, it felt really genuine and real, and so that whoever the woman who did the documentary just must have been great. Like she just got all the right information, all the right answers from them, so it's like
yeah, and they were able to
kudos
be
to ask them that.
comfortable,
Yeah,
but they
making them
were just
comfortable.
talking to each other. Like
Yeah,
Lisa. Whenever Lisa was talking with anybody, she was just like, see, she seemed perfectly herself. Like,
yeah,
that's hard to do. Sometimes
yeah,
it's like, oh, I'm being watched, so.
yeah.
But yeah, so what score would you give this out of 10?
It was like a 9 out of 10, man. This is great.
9 out
I
of
love it.
10?
Yeah, what a great documentary.
Yeah.
This is what a I loved it, and it made me. I described to somebody, actually our friend. Funnily enough, our friend Blinkum. I met him. I saw him on Pete's stream last night, and he was just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I was like, "Okay, well." And so I said, I just watched the Blackpink documentary, and I was like, also, funnily enough, Blackpink fans are called Blinks, so I was like, that's kind of fun. But it sort of it reinvigorated the reason why it made me more confident than ever that I love K-pop, and it's a good thing that I love K-pop.
Yeah.
Um, it was like that passion is just like you could be listening to that a lot now.
It's so
So
nice to have this angle because, it's interesting to have the behind the scenes angle on the
mm,
K-pop group. So it's like
mm-hmm.
you can have more depth and appreciation
Yeah,
for it. See, I don't
yeah,
really, I don't get into any interviews and stuff. It's I know some hardcore K-pop fans get into everything. They watch everything they put out. But I'm usually just watching music videos, some live performances of stuff. So it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
But I would give it 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's great. Like,
okay, yeah, absolutely.
In terms of music documentaries, I'd say it's hard to do an exceptional music documentary, like based on concerts and stuff. Pentatonics is a group that I love. Their On My Way Home documentary, I feel like I was like, it's all right.
Yeah.
Like I only got really much value out of it because I already love the group.
Mm-hmm.
This is one where I think you could watch it without even knowing the group and you get appreciation out of it.
A really good introduction to, like I said, it's good introduction to K-pop, good introduction to the group. Like, what's this BLACKPINK? What's this all about? You know, just your random like mom and pop that are just like browsing through. I've heard of this BLACKPINK before. I think I saw them on Jimmy Kimmel. You know, like, and then they.
And not for nothing, for a documentary like this, I think they had some pretty good shots and it was actually directed well too.
Oh yeah,
the framing things.
I love the like the one-on-one interviews. Everything about that, what they were the seating arrangement, they were all on different seats. What they were wearing, the rooms they were in, everything about that was great. It was very distinct.
I did like the theater segment that they kept putting in too, where they were watching it themselves. Like,
yeah, that was really cute. Yeah,
there's a lot of cuteness in this documentary.
Yes.
Appreciate it. So that's gonna be a Tarqaron score of 9.25 out of 10.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh my,
100%. See it, watch it. It's really good. It's on Netflix, and even if you're like we say, even if you're not a huge K-pop fan, I think this is a really good introduction, and it was at least a good like focal point to be like, this is why it's popular. I think it's a really good sort of introduction to that. So, yeah.
See, is there a BTS documentary out?
I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting. I would like to know more about them.
Like I was into a little bit of BTS, but I've never been like a hardcore fan. But I mean, BLACKPINK are huge and it's a phenomenon, but they're like BTS are like 10 times the popularity of BLACKPINK at least.
Yeah, which is insane. Yeah,
they're like one of the biggest groups ever, like not just K-pop.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Red Velvet has had a TV show. I think they might have had a couple. They've done some like kind of weird off the wall stuff. So.
I would like to get into Red Velvet. I've heard good things.
Yeah, from me primarily. I mean, you probably heard from other people too, but yeah.
But BTS, talk about breaking down barriers. They've done a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. So the place I get all my K-pop stuff is at Newbury Comics because I have a whole section. One half of the display, the fixture, is BTS. Everything. It's one half of it. Mm-hmm. You go to the other side, that's where everything else is. So it's like, okay, you get your Red Velvet, you get your you get your Girls' Generation and BLACKPINK and all that.
That's accurate.
Like BTS is like one whole section. So
because it's like K-pop is one thing, BTS is a whole other thing. Like that's just there's a name recognition for BTS, but for a K-pop group, that's crazy. Yeah. But again, K-pop. What is K-pop? It's just Korean pop.
K-pop.
All right. Well, what video would you recommend our viewers watch after watching this one?
Go watch our review of the Triforce, which is the Starbomb album, which is probably our least viewed video on our channel. You should go check it out.
Very different music.
It's very different music.
Look, now I'm inspired. I'm inspired. I want to talk about more K-pop now.
Yeah.
We got to find a way.
We should find something. I don't know. It could be fun. That'd be fun. We could review an album. Let's just get a random BTS album and talk about it, I guess. That'll be our introduction to BTS.
Yeah, hey, if you want to go to my solo channel, I have reactions to my first time watching BLACKPINK ever. It's on there.
That'd be great. I want to see that.
2016 vintage stuff. So.
Yeah, I want to see that.
But I did reactions to most of the BLACKPINK videos. So
I was gonna say, did you still have your old opening at that point, the one with the music?
Maybe, yeah. I had the little snowball mic too. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
All right.
So thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to our podcast feed, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, and follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, Tarqaron TWO. All right.
Rosé Stan.
Yeah. Yes.